What's the word, ladies and gentlemen? This is Andrew, and today I want to talk about my opinions with Dockyard, the latest and greatest stopwatch / objective match for Dirty Bomb. Now, I feel I've played a lot of this map over the weekend, pretty extensively in fact, so I think I have a pretty good idea of how the map flows. I've explored a lot of it, so I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I really enjoyed this map. I had a lot of fun playing it over the testing weekend, but there are a few concerns of mine, and we're going to get into that. But in general, I really enjoyed this map. I felt like it was a really well-made map, but you really have to learn, as the player, you really have to learn the map to really fully appreciate it. So yeah, I guess first off, the pros, right? It has a lot of really nice flanks. It has really nice routes, very nice verticality, a lot of depth to it because you can kind of jump everywhere, you can flank everywhere, a lot of great positioning. Now, the problem with this is that not everyone thinks this way. I kid you not, there have been so many times when everyone just tries to barrel down the middle lane. That middle stretch of the road for attackers is just awful, right? I mean, you are literally running headfirst into a line of snipers and an MG, and it's just awful. But, I keep seeing the attackers do this over and over again, and they just completely ignore the entire left side of this map, which I feel is sort of the developer's way of saying, hey, use this and take out the defenders. I mean, in fact, I can show you guys right now. It is pretty easy to kind of flank behind the entire defending team. I mean, if you just kind of walk past here and then, keep going. You see what I mean, though? You can kind of get to the bridge. And then, if not the bridge, you can go even farther back, past that barrier. So, I feel like this map has a lot of potential. It's just the problem is no one is really using it to the full potential. Now, that aside, though, there have been times when even that flank route isn't enough. Flanking all the way around that left side isn't nearly enough. And so, this kind of gets to my next point, which is that it does need some cover. In the middle lane, it gets kind of ridiculous for engineers who are just trying to repair to kind of get on the EV. By the way, the EV has a bug where it actually takes way longer to repair. I don't know what that's about. Maybe the perception of how the attackers are really screwed over would change with the EV taking less time to repair. But anyways, going back to what I was saying. Yeah, I feel like it definitely needs some cover down that middle road because, I mean, as it stands, it's really hard to kind of sit there in a stationary spot without getting airstriked or sniped or just like freaking flushed out by the enemy, by the defenders. So, I mean, I can kind of see where the developers are going with this map. They're trying to take the approach of, the attackers have to flush out the enemies by taking this flanking route first and then repairing the EV afterwards. But, I mean, as you guys can see, the general populace just kind of likes to barrel down the middle. So I feel like to balance things out, to not flush everything into one direction. Because right now, I can see that this left side flanking route is so important, but they are making it obvious, and it is not exactly the easiest route to get to, right? I mean, you're running across open areas for a little bit. Even if you take the little shortcut and jump across, you still are being spotted. So I feel like if they want to emphasize this flanking style of gameplay, they should make it a little bit more obvious. So these are kind of my two solutions for this last stretch of Dockyard. So A, they either have to add some cover, like I said before, or B, move the attacker spawn when they spawn in on that second stretch of the EV. Move it so that this flanking route is a bit more obvious. Because right now, the spawn is way back, and you're kind of flushed down the middle unless you kind of think outside the box and you actually kind of know where to flank. But right now, it seems like the general, idea of how people play this map is if you're attacking, you have to flush down the middle road and just kind of eat sniper bullets and MG nests. That's just how it goes. But I don't think that's the direction that Splash Damage is going with this map. I think they're really trying to reward the players who have that map knowledge, who have that flanking down, right? I mean, I think the only real way to win as an attacker on this map is to use that left side. But as you guys can see here, no one is using it. Everyone's just kind of hugging that main road, which is sort of like, to the defenders, the attackers is just sort of like shooting fish in a barrel, and the fish are the attackers. It's pretty awful, you know. So again, I feel like splash damage for the attackers, they're really trying to have this focus on flanking, which is fine because I love flanking. Flanking is like my favorite thing to do, but problems start coming up when flanking is kind of your only weapon as an attacker. Not everyone likes to flank, not everyone really knows how to flank, and you know, because of the way the attackers spawn for that last stretch is not very accessible, right? You kind of have to get, you know, run out of the way to get to the spot. So what ends up happening is the average pub player gets frustrated, right? Because they think the only way to really push this last stretch is to go down this middle lane, which is of course suicide. Now the solution to all this is to, in my opinion, not make flanking the only viable option, right? Add some cover in that middle road, throw us a bone, you know, give us some cover for that middle section. Now, the second part is to make the flanking route also a little bit more obvious, because I can see Splash Damage's vision for this map. You know, I can see where they're going with this. They really want to drive home flanking, but it's just not obvious enough for the average player. Most people are just barreling down mid, so I feel like to improve the overall player experience, they're going to have to adjust where the attackers spawn for that last stretch of the EV. Now, I feel like the first half is pretty decent, you know, where it's in the garage, you gotta repair it, and then you go over that bridge. That part is fine. Even the last objective is pretty okay. My first impressions were kind of concerned that it would be way too hard to plant the C4. However, after playing it for a long time, I realized that you can actually get airstrikes in that area. You know, there's no roof over that entire area, so it's very easy to take a Kara laser and just kind of scrub that whole area of defenders. So I really enjoyed that last objective. I feel like this map in general is quite balanced. It's just that last stretch may be a little difficult. Now, people also were concerned about the size of the map, you know. In my opinion, at first I kind of agreed with them because they're like, I was like, holy crap, this map is huge. But then after playing it for a while, I realized that it is not nearly as big as I would think it is. And this is because it's an EV map, right? So the flow of the battle depends on where the EV is. Obviously, the farther up the EV is, you're not going to have to run through the entire map every time. It's not going to be like Dome where you're kind of just running through lots and lots of space. You have an EV, which is sort of like a reference point of where the battle is at, where the battle flows. So I think the map size is okay. The concern about 5 vs 5 combat still stands because over the weekend they didn't actually test that. They only gave us 8 vs 8 servers. 8 vs 8 worked fine. I'm not exactly sure how well 5 vs 5 would work because that's just like 3 less players on each side. I really don't know. But from what I can say, Dockyard 8 vs 8, I think it's a great map. It could use a few tweaks. Again, this whole video is my opinion, so let me know down in the comments what you guys think of Dockyard. And if you don't like Dockyard, please at least give me some sort of reasoning behind it. I kind of don't like when people say, oh, Dockyard sucks, and they don't actually give me a good reason. You know, I'm kind of a guy who actually cares about what you guys have to say, so please write up something to tell me your point of view. But yeah, in case if you guys don't know, there's a whole Dockyard thread discussion. I'll go ahead and link it down in the description. But until next time, I'll see you in the next one.